Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Senator Abdullahi Sankara, representing Jigawa Northwest. Mr. President, urgent need for humanitarian support and assistance to victims of flooding in the whole country, especially Jigawa State. The death of about 100 persons and displaced of thousands of persons, including women and children. Also aware that flooding washed away bridges, roads, farmland, and over 150 houses. Residents in the affected local government area at Ringing Emirate, Kazaure Emirate, Gumal Emirate, Dutse Emirate, and Hadeja Emirate of Jigawa State. Observe that the victim of disaster now take shelter in poorly organized centers like school buildings, not affected by the flood. Worry that the major part of the affected local government area are still submerged with state emergency response agency not being able to handle the disaster alone. Concerned that the urgent medical and humanitarian assistance are not deployed to the affected victim, a major health challenge may result from the disaster. Accordingly resolved as follows: direct the NEMA to coordinate with the State Emergency Management Agency, especially in Jigawa State, with a view to urgently provide humanitarian assistance to affected flood ravaged area of the country. Number two, urge the relevant agency to provide timely early warning to flood-prone area with a view of forestalling the loss of lives and property. I so move, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, Aisha Tudairu Ahmed Binani, representing Adama Central. Mr. President, the issue of flooding in this country is a seasonal something. It's something that we always experience year in, year out. And I think it's high time the government look at it and come up with a lasting solution. Like in my area, that's the Northeast and most of the state, if the federal government will take up this issue of dredging of this River Benue up to the Lagdo with the understanding of this of the Cameroon government, I think it will solve the problem once and for all, because it's not in our interest to be asking the NEMA or humanitarian give us this foodstuff beddings to take to our people. We hate seeing our people suffering every year. So let's get a lasting solution to that effect. And also, Mr. President, I want to call on the Ministry of Water Resources. I don't know what is happening to the buffer dam at Dasin. This Dasin dam that is supposed to have been constructed long ago. To my understanding, approval has been given. So what has been holding it, I don't know. So I think the chairman, Senate Committee on Water Resources, maybe that committee should look into that and come up with why is that dam, that Dasin dam, is not constructed up to now, because what we are looking at is a lasting solution, not that every year in, year out we come here and say NEMA should give us relief material, humanitarian should give. That's not what we are looking. That's not what we are asking for. But in the meantime, before that one will come, We urge that the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs should look into that and assist our people. Thank you very much.
Senator Binos.
I consulted all the senators through whose states River Benue passes. And that is the names that you called out there. Mr. President, the problem we are having, just as my distinguished colleague has said, the problem really has to do with the dam in Cameroon, Lagdo Dam, which when it is full to capacity, they release water. And that water causes overflowing across the Benue Valley, all the way to Lokoja. And the only permanent solution is to dredge the river. If you dredge the river, it will be deeper. It will hold more water. And secondly, there's a need to construct buffer dams like the one she's mentioning. When that Lagbo Dam was constructed in the 80s, the agreement was that a buffer dam on the Adamawa side of that dam will be constructed. That is the Dasin Hausa Dam. A similar one was to be constructed on the Cameroon side. You know, without those buffer dams, every time there is release of water from Lagbo Dam, even from Kiri Dam in Adamawa State, the Benue River will be overflowing. It happened in 2012. The damage was too much, and it is happening again this year. Over the weekend, I went home, I took a boat ride to some of the communities in my constituency affected by this flooding. It is heart-rending. You will find villages totally submerged. You will find school infrastructure submerged, you know? So it is something that, like my colleague said, it is not a question of just bring relief materials. We need to solve the problem, and the solution is dredge the river and also construct buffer dams. I so submit.
This has turned into a national tragedy, really, because there is no part of our country that has not been flooded today. That is to say, this season. And this has come with serious consequences of loss of lives, loss of farmlands and crops, loss of very vital infrastructure, loss of houses, and communities have been terribly affected across the country. And that's why this motion is a unity motion, so to speak. Every member of this Senate is a sponsor of this motion. In my senatorial district, and indeed in Yobe State, we have taken a hit because the way Tiga Dam is managed by the authorities there is not the best way to manage a dam. Normally, water will be kept. When those of us downstream will need it, they will not release it. And when the dam is filled up and then threatens to burst the structures, then they will just release it. And this is what has happened. Tiga Dam was opened because it was going to break. There was so much water in it. And from Jigawa, actually from Bauchi, from Zaki local government in Bauchi, downstream Yobe, up to some parts of Borno, including Damasak in Borno State, neighboring Niger, all of us were affected. In Yobe, we lost so many roads. In fact, about 11 or 12 of our local governments out of the 17 are no more reachable through our normal, regular roads because the roads have been cut by flood. So it's beyond just taking blankets and food stuff for now. I believe that our colleagues who are saying we should do better than going with food stuff by NEMA and the rest of it. First, climate change is a reality. It's a reality. Because whatever we do in Nigeria, this climate change is universal, is global, and it will rain so heavily that from Guinea Highlands, where the river Niger starts, will pass through, of course, Mali, Niger, and then down to our country up to the Niger Delta. So that is something that we cannot control. And by the way, Niger has not been, in our understanding or agreement with Niger, they are not supposed to dam River Niger. Because if they do, we'll be under serious trouble. We can't run the Kainji, the hydroelectricity that we have. So it means it is still our responsibility here in Nigeria to ensure that we not only dam, but we manage our dams properly. And desilting is necessary. Because in most parts of River Hadeja, there is a river that flows from Kano down to Bauchi, but down to Yobe, up to Borno, and up to Lake Chad, that it used to contribute so much. Now, because of the silting, the river does not reach Lake Chad anymore. It disappears because the channels have been silted. So we need to desilt, just like Senator Binos Yaro was saying, that you desilt Benue, but that's not the only river we need to desilt. There are so many rivers in our country that we need to desilt, so that the channels will be able to contain the water that will flow in. But I think for now, our Committee on Special Duties will have to engage with NEMA, the committee that deals with the humanitarian ministry would have to sit with NEMA. Every part of Nigeria needs some support. It's not only Jigawa State, all over. We look at, and we're going to expand the prayers here because we have to include other states. And NEMA, unfortunately, this time is going to be tasked. If there is anything we can do to enhance the capacity of NEMA, we need to do that, because this is a season that they have to provide so much for the people that are affected. So this, I want us to look at the prayers, and I believe that we either have amendment to the prayers or additional prayers to ensure that everybody is captured in this. Prayer 1, direct the NEMA to coordinate with states' emergency management agencies, especially in Jigawa State, with a view to urgently provide humanitarian assistance to the affected flood-ravaged areas of the country. Those, okay, amendment. Distinguished Senator Binos Yaro.
The motion to read, direct NEMA in consultation with state governments to urgently carry out a comprehensive assessment of communities affected by flooding across the country with a view to providing them with relief materials. I so move.
To second, Senator Aisha to.
Thank you, Mr. President. Aisha Ahmed Binani, representing Adama Central. I second the amendment of the prayers as moved by Senator Binos Yaro. I so second.
1 as amended, say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Prayer 2, urge the relevant agencies to provide timely early warning to flood-prone areas with a view to forestalling the loss of lives and property.